G'day, legends, and welcome to the Pot Noodle. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight is Liam. How are you, Liam?
Good, mate. Good. Yeah, it was nice. I actually managed to catch the full game at the weekend, which was just as well because Celtic TV didn't bother to upload half of it. Apparently.
Until today, which
Yeah.
made it really difficult for me to catch up on, mate. So, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Just
Yeah.
finished watching the second half, I don't know, about an hour ago, and yeah,
Yeah.
rubbish. Good fun. So, yeah, what I want to do is just start off the pod with a real simple message. I just want to send out my condolences and everything to the Judge family, to Abby, Dylan, and Karis for the loss of your father. Kevin was a big member at the Sing Tims, good friend of mine, one of the first ever guests we had on the podcast when I started it. So just want to dedicate this episode to you, Kevin. Thanks for all the friendship, sharing all the memes, laughing at the Rangers with me, and everything over the last 5-6 years, mate. Appreciate it, and you'll be missed. And yeah, with that, we'll roll on into the show. So, Liam, we had Celtic 5, Ross County nil. So I'm just going to go to the lineups because one of the questions going into the game was there going to be much change from the midweek Champions League game? And sure enough, we started with Casper in goals, and Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter Vickers kept their spot, but then Scales and Valle came in. Midfield was Kelmac with McCowan and Bernardo coming in. And then up front, Dazen kept his spot, but then Jamesy and Ida both started. So there was quite a few changes, a lot more than I was expecting. What was your thoughts when you saw the starting lineup?
Um. That's actually one of the real signs of how far we've progressed because I would have been genuinely worried about that many changes this time last season, but now we have that depth where we can switch out 4 or 5 players, and there isn't that much of a drop in quality. I don't think.
That's something that I definitely want to be talking about on the pod tonight there, Liam, because yeah, there's 100% there's some crazy depth in this squad, and yeah, we definitely want to be talking about that. So what we'll do is we'll just roll on to the a quick chat about the game. We don't need to go into it too much because it was clearly just a tale of two halves. Like for me, looking at it, first half was just some absolute magic football. Second half wasn't much of a drop off. It was just first half the ball was going in the net. Second half, some of them weren't whizzing past the keeper. So I didn't see much of a difference. But what was your thoughts on the first half, Liam?
Yeah, it was just like it like my wife actually was kind of passively watching it while I had my full attention on the game, and she said to me, "Are you watching highlights?" And I was like, "No, no, no, this is a live game." She says, "Every time I look up, Celtic score." So it's not the highlights. This is a live game in real time, but that is how good it was that she genuinely thought she was watching a highlight reel.
Yeah, so with that, Liam, it's kind of funny because when I was watching, so as you mentioned early on, first half of the game I was able to watch. Second
Mm.
half I had to wait till today to be uploaded. So it was like, all right, watch the highlights. And there was a period there when I was watching. So I rewatched the first half at lunch today, watched the second half after work, right? And watching it today, first half, it was it was like, if you're let's look at it this way. For those who play FIFA growing up,
Mm.
and it's like picture it like you're an experienced FIFA player with 20 plus years experience, you're kind of decent, and then you're playing against your nephew who's like 5 or 6 for the first time and they have no idea what buttons to push. That's kind of what the first half looked like in patches, where it was just tap tap tap, one touch passing, balls back around. The guys like, huh, what's going on? That's how I looked at it. I thought it was kind of hilarious overall.
Aye, like when you don't tell your mate how the controls work before you start up the game.
Well, yeah, exactly. I was going to make a
Yeah.
comment there. Look, I'm like, we're not past the say 5 minute mark yet, so I can't.
No, no, I'll be careful.
So I'll
Um,
stop that one there. But yeah, first
uh,
half overall, the football was just amazing. It was crisp. It was exciting. And the thing that I found really interesting about the game in general, not just the first half, you can see the difference when Adam Eder's in there compared to when Kyogo's in the center forward position, and we'll discuss a bit later on. We're going to talk about the center back pairings. We're going to talk about the midfield, and we're going to talk about the striker. So we won't and left back. So we won't go too much into those two as a comparison now. But what I've noticed is our wingers are smart enough in the moment to go, okay, it's Kyogo, whip the ball in low and hard, because that's where
Yeah.
he's more likely to do it. And with Eder, it was interesting to get that different look where we're able to mix up the crosses. There was some low crosses. There was high crosses coming into him for the header. And then when our centre forwards come up, it was the high crosses coming into them as well. So it was a bit of a different variation to what we normally see, but I liked it.
Yeah, and again, it shows that the dynamic nature of the squad now, that we can change it up like that. And I think that is partly why Ross County were caught as cold as they were, because I think they had, set up with the expectation of trying to counter Kyogo, and then we set up with Ida and Forest, and they just were not prepared for that at all.
Yeah, 100% there, Liam, 100%. So what I'll do is I'll grab some comments and bring them up. So Jerry Burns, before this comment, Jerry said, "How are you today, lads?" I'm doing ripper, Jerry. Absolutely loving life. Hope you're doing well too. But this comment here, a 5-star performance, first half, great football, well taken goals. Could have scored more in the second half. Keeper made a couple of great saves. And that's what I was talking about earlier there, Jerry, where I'm saying the difference between the first and the second half is the ball just didn't end up in the back of the net. That was pretty much it. Like, their keeper did well.
Mm. You couldn't even fault their keeper at any of the goals. That was the thing. I saw somebody trying to say, "Oh, he was at fault for the first goal," but I mean, for God's sake, that header was an absolute bullet. He got two hands on it and still couldn't keep it out. It was unsavable.
It was a really shocking position for the ball to go in for the keeper too, like straight up above his head with not
Yeah,
much clearance to the pole, and
yeah,
getting him leaning forward, but then trying to go back. It was just really awkward. It was great positioning.
yeah. I think anybody who's not a goalkeeper is maybe not going to fully understand that, because it was such a hard one to take. And keeper was not at fault at all. But as I said, if you don't understand positional sense and whatever, you might think, "Oh, he's let that go through his hands," but no, that's not the case at all.
Funny thing is, Liam, I've never played goalkeeper in my life, right? But I can understand that exact movement that he made. That's like, because I grew up playing basketball, and for me,
Yeah,
that's like going for a rebound and your body's all moving that way and the ball goes just over your head that way, and it's hard to twist back and get to it. So I understand exactly what it is. It's just awkward. So
yep.
it's like with goalkeepers, the striker either goes between the legs or above the head like that. It's always hard for him.
Mm. I mean, like if you come back to last week, if you remember Kuhn's goal against Hearts, he very deliberately played that high and powerfully because he knew that Craig Gordon was really good getting down low, but not so hot with the high shots. You know.
Yeah, Craig Gordon always goes low and splits the legs.
Yep.
So it's just get it up and over. It's like
Mm.
Casper Schmeichel when he tries to make himself wide. Legs are there. You go up straight under his ball bag, straight in.
We're past the 5 minutes now. Then I see.
I deliberately had a look, so I'm gonna do this for a laugh.
uh,
Smell, we got smell the glove here saying how Drongos.
He'll help.
Jerry Burns is saying McCowan and Bernardo need to keep their place on Wednesday. 100%. We will discuss that later on. I
Mm.
don't know if that comes across as me saying 100% or 100% we're going to talk about it later. Maybe both.
Mm. But I'm in complete agreement with that. They were both excellent at the weekend, so I'd be perfectly happy with both of them keeping their places. McCowan is really emerging as a star. He's been the breakout player of the season so far, which is maybe a bit ignorant of me to say because he's a breakout player to me because I never watched Dundee, but apparently he was just as good when he was at them as well. So
Yeah. So Robert Gibson, that was acceptable in the first half. We went on a picnic in the second half. Or
Palmer's still a
according
prick
to
though, right?
yeah, and apparently some people thought it was boring and left at halftime. All the winning somebody did on scoreboards SSB. So flog.
Aye. Aye.
Yeah, smell the glove. Saturday was perfect for me. Job done in the first. Bench players got game time and took it. Other players rested. No injuries. Perfect.
Yep.
We will discuss this later on in the show here, Robert. The arse has fallen out of Aberdeen.
Mm.
Andrew Galea. What are you doing, mate? What are you doing, Andrew? If I was Ange, I'd buy Kyogo in January.
Thankfully, you're not.
Yeah, so, yeah, what we'll do, Liam, is we'll just talk about the goals. Because, yeah, there was 5 of them and 5 different goal scorers, which I found really interesting. So the first one was scored from a corner. How bloody good's that?
Yeah.
Considering last season and pretty much the last decade, I think it's been a joke that we don't score from set pieces or corners. So the fact that Mr. Scales there does his old little fake this way and then bang, header it, class, good finish. The delivery from McCowan was unreal.
Mm.
And then the second goal, Liam, I just have to group these two together. It was the roles reversed. Like, all right, mate, here you go. You set me up.
Yeah.
Now I'll set you up with Scales over the top for McCowan's run and finish. And people saying, oh, it was deflected. It should be an own goal. Piss off. There was only one
No.
thing he was ever going to do. He's in that position. He's brought the ball down. He's taken a shot. So, yeah, great finish.
What a ball over the top it was from Scales for that second goal. I mean, personally, he was my man of the match at the weekend. I thought he was absolutely superb. It was the textbook show of a guy who has not played the previous game and has been brought in and wants to show what he can do. And he showed exactly why he is still worthy of being part of that squad.
100%. And then you've got the next one is Bernardo. Like, the thing I thought about him was very Tom Rogic-esque. Just the composure in the box. Like, he's got the ball. Let's dance past someone. All right, let's tap it over a little bit and then just put it in the back post there. So, class finish. I love that one. And a minute later, an absolute howitzer from Callum McGregor. As soon as it was hit, I'm like, Cal Mac. I didn't actually see the number on it. I just saw where on the field it was hit from. And I'm like, that's a Cal Mac goal. Has to be.
Yeah.
And then you look at, then they zoom in on the celebration. You're like, yeah, bloody good.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The thing is, every one of those goals, there was brilliant footwork in the immediate lead up to it as well from the goal scorers, and that's something that I think. I mean, the shot was spectacular, but the build up was excellent as well.
Scales is one. Yeah, there was good footwork to get free. That's the thing, to get free for that header. There you go, Liam.
Yeah.
I bailed you out there. And then Eda's one, like the footwork and just create that and just absolutely blast it. Like, absolute class across the board, as you're saying. 5 players, 5 quality goals. Job done. Q in the rack. We rotated. We at the start of the game made a bunch of changes to rest players up. And then half time, second half, we're able to make a whole bunch more changes as well and rest up more guys. Like, bring Taylor on, bring Valle off. Yang comes on. Engels comes on. Hatade comes on. Ralston comes on. So able to get a fair bit of rotation. Trusty, Kyogo, and Kun weren't needed. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. So, yeah, overall, Liam, I'd say we could have a general chat about the second half, but what's there to talk about it? We've already touched on it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it was just on another day, Ida gets 4 and we hit double figures. That is how dominant we were. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but I would imagine we had a similar number of shots on goal in the second half as we did the first. It was just difference was first half they went in. I wonder though, does the Ross County keeper who came on at half time, does he get a clean sheet bonus?
Hey, you sure? He played half a game.
Made some absolutely world class saves and did not let in any goals. So
Makes sense.
Aye.
He'll keep his jersey next midweek, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll just go through and let's have a look what we've got here. Yeah, Pedro, not that one, has said All that goal scoring ruined if Paul Riley, the alleged Celtic fan on Clyde Super Scoreboard Call of the Week. Yep.
Oh God, yeah. You do get some absolute wallopers on that show, honestly.
Yeah. Andrew Galea saying McCowan is having a breakout season, but knows he's a backup.
For now,
For
aye,
now, at
for
the
now,
moment. We'll discuss that a little bit later on.
yeah.
What else we got? Yep, Robert Gibson hasn't missed anything here. Palmer's still a wanker, even an absent one.
Ah, well.
Oh, my wife's in the comments. Hail, hail, lads! An interesting hoodie, Liam. Hey, it's Power Rangers if I recognise it.
There is a story behind this. A friend of mine, who shall remain nameless and is a Rangers supporter, offered to make a donation to charity if I wore a Rangers top on the pod. So technically, I have fulfilled my end of the bargain.
Pay up,
Yep,
pay up. It has to be done.
yep.
Love a technicality.
Hmm.
We got here RL77. He's saying Bernardo will take over from Kelmac in the future.
Yeah. Aye.
Andrew Galea is saying everyone has fallen in love with Trusty, but Scales deserves that spot for me. We'll be talking about that later on in the centre back thing.
Hmm.
Oh God, RL77.
Oh God. I've not had my dinner yet, mate. Come on.
Oh, fuck. For those on the audio podcast, I've got to make sure I read this for you. RL77 is saying sheets were about as clean as spuds in Train Spotting.
Oh.
Jerry
Oh.
Burns has got a question for you here, Liam, which is I'd like to ask Liam, are there any more gems in Japan that you think Celtic should be taking a look at?
There are a few, yeah. It's I was at the cup final, the Japanese cup final last week, and the overall performance level was it wasn't a great game of football, but the overall performance level was absolutely superb. If you're asking for me to give you specific names right now, I don't have them to hand, but there are several players that I think Celtic should be looking at, and I will compile a list for next week. That's my homework. So don't worry, Jerry. I'll get back to you on that one.
Just for fun, then, just because no one will ask me, are there anyone in Australia? There's this left winger. He's about 24 years old, playing down here in Melbourne, and he's fully fit and he's up and about. And I was watching him yesterday, and I'm like, dance, Arzani, dance. Come on, come back. It's time. You're ready to go in Europe. Come back. We need a backup for Maeda. I'm just saying that to see what controversial comments we get. He's actually looking pretty good, though. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Smell the glove. Closest Rangers top I've worn for charity was a New York Rangers hockey top. Still hated it.
I believe they wear red, white, and blue as well, don't they?
Sure do.
Aye.
No, Robert. No. I don't want to have to wear my tiara again. Come on. Don't do that to me. Oh,
I'm
there it
afraid
is straight away.
that ship has sailed, sunk, and then been deported again. So
Robert's commented was Tilio. It was 24 seconds. 11 seconds later was this comment. Tiara time. Oh, brilliant.
Oh God.
Tiara's in the drawer just there. I already told the wife when I get a new setup in here, I'm gonna put shelving behind me, and I'm gonna have like a pot noodle. I'm gonna have the tiara, and I don't know what else is gonna go up there. But there's gonna be some random stuff. Maybe a pig or the Kyogo bauble. I don't know. Something will go up there. Yeah, it'll be interesting. So, yeah, well, player focus. I think we've pretty much just waxed lyrical about the team in general. I think it was more of a squad game. You've said your man of the match was Liam Scales. I can't argue the fact, to be honest with you. There we go. No more tiara, please.
As you told.
I'll wear it anyway. Gilio working at the Bunnings is a garden gnome.
Oh God.
Smell the glove is saying, is Tilio still alive or working in Elf's shopping home and away?
God, is that still going home and away? God.
Home and away is still about, yeah.
Jesus, is Alf still around? I mean, he must be pushing 90 by now. God.
I don't know, but Willie, after Thursday's pod, Willie tagged me in some Alf Stewart video. It was the best.
All right.
But yeah, Harold from Neighbours has announced that he's got cancer today, so that's the latest news from down here. So poor
Oh
fella.
shit.
He's a
Get well
good
soon.
bloke.
Get well soon,
Good
Harold.
bloke.
Right.
See him down at the Williamstown Footy Club watching the games. So top
Mm.
bloke.
God, I
Anyway,
remember seeing the two of them in Prisoner, which must be about 40 years ago now when you think about it. God.
yeah. There you go. Jerry saying he'll hold you to that about your list.
Yep, don't you worry, Jerry. It's I'll make some notes. Would have done it today, but I've got this problem. I'm very what's the word? Lazy.
Not lazy. Trying to figure stuff out.
Still waiting on that wee tube Jake Paul getting back to me. Yeah. I can only
Gone,
assume that he shat it, you know. I mean,
I believe so. So God yourself is saying they're saying McCowan will replace Rio. My opinion is no chance.
different
Smell
types
the
of player, I think. Yeah.
smell the glove. Oh, came back from the dead once, so you can do it again. Oh, jeez.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we've lost the plot tonight. It's great. Going a bit later than normal and absolutely just gone. It's brilliant. So what we'll do, Liam, is we'll just get into the RR77 Jake Paul speaks of cleaners. So yeah, we'll get into different positions. Bit of a squad chat here.
Mm.
With the form we've got across the back of the last few games, I'm going to ask you straight up, Liam, who's our best centre back at the moment, and what do you think our best centre back pairing is? Do you want some
Well,
thinking time?
no, I'm gonna give an answer here, which is gonna sound very contradictory. Individual on current form, Liam Scales is our best centre back, but I think the best pairing is Trusty and Carter Vickers. I just think they combine together better. But if you're talking about who is the informed centre back at the moment, it's Scales.
It's good to have that because remember how many years have we been carrying on saying we've got two good starting quality centre backs, but then it's Stephen Welsh or it's
Near Beaton
Jozo
centre
Simonovic
back.
on one leg, or it's near Biton having to drop back,
Yeah.
or whatever, or we're having to play Dane Murray. Nothing against him. I still think there's a player there, but the
Mm.
fact that Owen O'Connell sort of thing. There you go. I'm digging into the barrel here. So and we have to go loan someone like Filip Benkovic to give us a third option. So the fact that we have three players who are quality starting level centre backs, it's actually class to see. And for me, I think as I agree with you, Liam, Scales is the best in form, but the best pairing is Team America.
Yep. But yeah.
I was waiting for it. And yeah, so we'll see what some of the comments are saying here. Robert Gibson saying my wife could punch the beard off Jake Paul.
Aye.
Andrew
In
Galea
fairness,
saying
a wet fart would put Jake Paul down. Let's be honest.
Andrew Galea Scales deserves his spot. I'm not saying
Yep.
he doesn't deserve his spot. Look at him last season. He's probably one of the first on the team sheet. RL77 saying Trusty has the edge on recovery pace for Europe. The funny thing about
Mm.
that is all the Sheffield United fans, were saying Trusty has no pace. He's slow, he's rubbish, blah, 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 when we signed him.
Mm.
Yet, as RL77 saying Trusty has the edge on recovery pace for Europe. He's actually a lot quicker. And when he's not, having to park the bus and batten down the hatches, he can actually play football the way he is. Yeah, class act.
I mean, I had a bit of that kind of. I made the mistake. Never on Facebook. Never ever go into like English Premier League chat forums, right? Because it's just the minute they see you wearing a Celtic top, it just becomes total condescension and bigotry. But Sheffield United fans were all like, "Oh, aye, he's going to find his true level at Celtic because he was crap for us." And I said, nothing to do with the fact that you lost pretty much, near enough every game last season. Anybody would have looked crap in that team. And I said, I'll take no lectures on quality from a team that has Ollie McBurney in it.
Says it all. Yep.
Aye.
So let's
Disgrace
bring
to
up
humanity and genetics.
some comments here. So, Smell the Glove is saying, let's get a quality right-sided centre half to have 4 fighting for 2 places. Get Naroski, Lagerbelka, and Welsh away. I think we need to keep one of them as the 5th option if you're going to do that.
I
Because
think
we
that's
do
where
have,
we look to try and promote from the youth team. If we've got a
yeah,
good up-and-coming Scottish centre-back, that would be good for the European quota and, have coverage as well.
Dane Murray, get fit already.
Mm.
He didn't look out of place. That's the funny thing. Every time he's played in the first team, I thought there was a player there. He's just not starting level. So RL77, one more really good centre back, and we're all sorted in that department. Gone yourself. Welsh is 5th string, same as McCowan, 4th string, and yes, he had a good game against Ross County. Jerry Burns. It proves we now have a really strong squad of players. And Smell the Glove is saying exactly what we just said there, Liam, which was have Dane Murray or another youth as the 5th.
Yep.
I always thought the 5th option would be Bosun Lawwell. I thought he was the guy at the start of the season that I was like, okay, but if he's 12 months ago, he was that guy. But then he started playing midfield, and I'm like, it's not going to be him. So Dane Murray or another prospect, yes, 100%.
Yeah, Bosun Lawwell really impressed me in the Japan tour, the 2 games that we played over here. Yeah.
He impressed me down here as well when we saw him. He was just a big boy. But anyway, everyone keeps talking about Luke McCowan, so I'm going to have to ask you this now, Liam. With the form shown by Luke McCowan every time he's taken to the pitch in a Celtic shirt, I'm not just talking about this weekend. Every single time Luke McCowan has played for us, I have been really, really impressed. The real question is, has he played himself into a regular starting spot, particularly over the next few games, because we've got so many upcoming matches, Liam? What do you reckon?
Domestically, yes. European, maybe not quite yet. I would have no qualms putting him into any game in Scotland, including against the Rotten Mob. I think he's got no problems there. Europe could well be good enough there as well, but not proven quite yet, I don't think. I would stick with Bernardo and Hattati for Europe. But McCowan, if he had to come in because of an injury, I would not have any worries about it.
I think McCowan it's not about him and Bernardo or anything like that. I think McCowan definitely good enough for Scotland in the Scottish team. Like he could in the league, he could even play in the Scottish national team. I think he's good enough to be in the fringes for that now.
Yeah.
But the question is, in Europe, what do we got? And it's hard to tell, right? And as Andrew Galea is saying in the comments, we've got 5 good midfielders, but only 3 spots.
Yeah.
And that's a great issue to have. Just like our centre-back situation, it's always good to have a few too many. But Smell the Glove saying in the comments, we need to utilise Luke McCowan next few games as he can't play in the cup final.
Of course,
Perfect way to rotate perfect way to play to rotate some players. So for me, yeah, against Aberdeen, if he was in the starting lineup, I would not have any questions. Away against Dinamo Zagreb, if he was in the starting lineup, I wouldn't be upset, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Could definitely see him playing a part in Zagreb, though. I could see him coming on at some point.
And that exactly, Liam, and that ties into what Robert's saying here. McCowan would probably go all right in Europe. He doesn't lack confidence.
Agreed.
And then Andrew's saying, I'd like to see us start using Bernardo at 6 and push McGregor into an 8. I like what you're saying, Andrew, but I would actually put Engels in the 6 because that's his natural position and push McGregor to an 8 if you're going to do that. I want to see, because Engels looks like he's struggling whenever he plays an 8. So put him in the 6, get him comfortable, and then you've got McGregor there who can always be that guy that, guide him through it if need be. So, yeah, that's just my thoughts there. RL77 would like to see a bit more rotation in midfield. Reckon we've started Engels too much for his age and getting into more national team games.
Yeah, I mean, on current form, McCowan is definitely ahead of Engels for me. But that's not a slight on Engels. It's more about how good McCowan has been.
Exactly. I agree with you, Liam. It's got nothing to do with the money spent. Put that to the side for a minute and be like, on performance and what we're getting week in, week out whenever they're on the pitch, McCowan is the better player at the moment.
Yeah,
But I still think Engels has the higher upside and will be the better player long term.
yeah, probably.
So off the back of that topic there, Liam, talking about our midfield, what in your opinion is what is your opinion on our best midfield at the moment? Who makes up the best midfield three based on current form?
I mean, the thing is, if you ask me who's the best midfielder, I would include Hatate, but on current form, maybe not, because he has been he's shaded a bit recently. So current form, I would say McGregor, Bernardo, and that last one's the tricky one. I'd probably give it to Hatate, but it's a tricky one.
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one. So we'll bring up these comments here. Smell the glove saying Brendan said on Radio Clyde the other day hinting at Engels at 6.
Mm.
Andrew Galea is saying on form Bernardo and McCowan are ahead of Engels. Yep.
Yep, on form, yeah.
Big Dom is saying how long is long term for Engels? I'm saying second half of the season. When we bring him in, what was it? August?
Aye.
So I'm saying by the time we get through the next transfer window, I want to see him starting to lift his game. Give him that 6 months to settle in.
Aye. 6 to 9 months. I think that's
I'm,
fair.
I'm, I'm allowing him the Kun settling in period.
Yes.
So Macaroon is saying Morning John goes, you have to play players in form, so Engels can't start. You can't ignore how Luke played, so Kelmac, Luke and Bernardo.
I mean, on form, yeah, you can't argue with that.
Yeah, 100%. Andrew Galea is saying McGregor, Hatate and one of the others.
Hmm.
Jerry Burns is saying, I love McCowan's attitude, whether he's on the bench or on from the start.
Yeah. McCowan gave a really good interview pre-game the other day as well, and spoke really, really well, and sounded, very confident, very mature, and exactly what you want to hear from a guy who's pushing to try and get into the first team.
McCowan gives you that vibe. Whenever you hear him, he just seems like such a happy, lovable guy. You just want to give him a cuddle. Seriously, he's one of us out there living his dream, and you're such a, he's such a vibe. He's such a cheerful guy.
Yeah.
So
Like you say, a guy who's just delighted to be there, quite clearly.
but he deserves to be there. That's the funny thing. It's not that he's there because he's a fan and it's charity or whatever. It's no, he deserves the jersey he's getting. So RL77 is saying dilemma is we need slightly different midfields for Europe and domestic, and that's why we have 5 starting level midfielders for 3 spots.
Yeah.
Robert Gibson is saying Hatate is somewhere between a genius and a turnip, depending on his mood. With Hatate, I think go back to what RL77 just said. Hatate suits us better in Europe than domestically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I start to worry about his long-term future at Celtic, because I think he himself is beginning to realise that Scotland isn't really suited to his game.
Yeah, I think if he got to move to, everyone talks about England, but I actually think going down to Spain would be a perfect move for him, or Japan, not Japan, or Germany.
Spain, Germany, or Italy would be good for him. England would waste him, because England is just Scotland but faster and more expensive. So, yeah.
I think Italy's too slow for him, but that's technical ability. He'll actually look fast in Italy.
Aye, I suppose.
Give Engels to next season after the Brendan pre-season. Gone yourself is saying McGregor, Hatate, McCowan. Andrew's saying I'm loving that Rogers is turning Hatate into a 90-minute player.
That's a very good point, because Hatate was, usually 60, 70 minutes before. So, aye, that's, yeah.
And Smell the Glove is saying, great to have a down-to-earth Celtic fan playing like McCowan, who has earned it.
Yeah,
100%. He's fast becoming one of my favourite Celtic players, just because of like him and Alistair Johnson. Those
yeah,
two are like, anytime you hear those two in particular talk, you're just like, these guys seem like they love the club the same way we do and they get it.
yeah.
And yeah, it's a bit of a
I
bromance for those two, let's be
I
honest.
said I said the same thing last year about Joe Hart. You know, you love it when a guy who isn't necessarily born into Celtic comes to us and just buys into it 100% and gets what we're about. And I think that Alistair Johnson is the latest incarnation of that, and it's so good to see.
Trying to remember who was the first player in my mind that I can think of when I was a teenager who was that way a little bit. Well, not even a teenager. Think back, Liam. Rattle off a couple of guys because I'm trying to buy me some time. Who else in the past would have been like that?
Well, I mean, he was only there for one season, so it's kind of hard to say. But Di Canio, I think, bought into quite a lot about what Celtic were about. You could see him playing with the passion as much as the skill when he played for us. Um, so Di Canio was one. I think Lubo was another one. He very much, he was seen as a back number when he came to Celtic and proved that the most common thing I heard about him after that was, by God, I wish we'd signed him 10 years ago, and yeah, I smell the glove in the comments here. Alan Thompson, that's a good one. Aye. Um, I think Big Bobo Balde was one as well. He really kind of, developed and became that kind of leader at Celtic. I mean, closer to home, Paul Lambert. I don't think he was. I don't know, but I don't think he was a Celtic supporter before he signed for Celtic.
You want to know something funny, Liam?
Yeah.
Right in the middle of my phone at the moment, it says Paul Lambert. Because
I could be wrong, but I think his family might have been like Motherwell fans or something. I don't think he was. I don't think he was from a Celtic background.
the one for me, going right back, and it's the one I was thinking of, but I just wanted to make sure I was thinking the right team.
Mm,
Petrov.
yes.
That's the one for me. Like anytime you mention someone, it's like they didn't say much, but anytime they heard him interviewed and they're talking about the club, they just got it from day one and they just love the place. And yeah, Petrov was that way. There you go, Liam.
Aye.
Smile the guy saying Lambert's dad was one of them.
Well, there you go. Aye. There you go. So
RS77 saying Tin hat on. Do we have a better option than Kelmac at number 6 in the Champions League? That's why we were linked to Daniel Amadi in the off-season. I think we definitely need to strengthen that for Europe, but there's other positions that are priority first.
yeah. I'm just thinking now, that Lambert comment, does that mean that the old thing about your grandchildren will be Celtic fans is literally what's happened with his family?
Correct. 100%.
Aye. Oh, Big Me Albie, that's another one. Aye.
Maybe. Belgian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aye. Um,
Mikkel Lustig. There we go.
yes. Yes. Aye.
We're going on a tangent here, and I love it. We could sit here for the next 20 minutes just saying random Celtic players' names,
I
and
mean,
it
Big
would still be
Sutton,
entertaining.
Chris
Yeah.
Sutton, to this day, he's still a Hun scalper off the park as well. So he's totally bought into it.
Okay, you said Sutton fine. I'm going Hartson. He failed his
Aye.
medical across the city and did not regret it.
Do you know, you mentioned Petrov a minute ago, right? I'm just slight tangent here, but I heard a very interesting story about Petrov. For his, he was a John Barnes signing initially, if you remember, and he was not particularly good in his first season, and then Martin O'Neill came in, saw the type of player that he actually should be, and moulded him into that, and he became a star man for us. But one of the reasons why Petrov really struggled to settle was apparently when he came over to Celtic, he, being from Bulgaria, didn't speak English much at the time, and he had really bad toothache for about 7 or 8 months because
Seems familiar.
this was the thing that I can't remember what it be from the particular part of Bulgaria that he was from dentists there didn't use local anaesthetic. So if you had a toothache, it was like get it hooked out. And so he was terrified of going to a dentist because he didn't know that in Scotland, you can get local anaesthetic. So for about 9 months, he had like really, really bad toothache. And, that I've had that before. I know how draining that is on you, just not just the pain, but it tires you as well. And I think no wonder he was pissed for that first 6 months.
We've got one other from the Pork Chop Express in the comments here. Saying Bruni probably the best example.
Yeah. I mean that the whole thing with him and El Hadj Diouf is still one of the all-time great Celtic moments, isn't it?
Let's just say something, Liam. The
Yeah.
Bruni. All I have
Aye.
to say is it was drizzling down rain on the weekend. I'm out there in the backyard. I tell my wife, hey, check out this. We go outside. She's standing in the rain because, when it's just like it's hot, but you get that cold bit of rain on you. And all of a sudden, now I'm just there doing the Bruni, just going, come on. To this day, it's perfect. You have to.
Yeah. I found myself doing the Bruni on Friday night when I got a strike at the bowling as well. it's just an instinctive thing.
Yeah. It just happens. Celtic, you just do it. So what we'll do, Liam, was we'll jump back into the squad talk and we'll go left back situation. Is Taylor or Valle the best starting option for us at the moment?
That's a tricky one because I've liked what I've seen of Valle. Do you want to go first and give me?
Yeah, I'll say something for you.
Aye.
I think it depends on what formation and what sort of tactics we're going with, because if we want to play the high press and have the inverted into the midfield, it has to be Taylor. But overall, what gives us the best balance across the back line and through the middle and everything is I actually like Valle starting. You got Valle on the left, AJ on the right. They hug on the sideline, and it just opens up, makes more space in the middle of the field. So for me, it's Valle.
I mean, I think Valle is a better player, if I'm being brutally honest. But I do think that since he's came in, Taylor has also stepped his game up because it's one of those things where the challenge makes the incumbent a better player as well. So I think he's improved as Valle has come in, but at the moment, Valle is the better player.
So I got some comments here. McLaughlin saying Valle for me. RL77 has just copied and pasted McLaughlin's comment. McLaughlin's also saying Valle has got 5 assists in 9-10 games. Taylor's lucky if he's got 5 assists in 2 seasons. Andrew Goulet saying Taylor for me, both very different. Taylor does a great job in the midfield. And that's where I was saying it depends on what the tactical responsibility is, how we want to play. With the invert, it has to be about Taylor, but depends on what we're trying to do. Robert Gibson saying Valle is a better player by a mile. G'day, Henrik McLarson. Pork Chop Express is saying Valle all day. RL77 is saying Valle. Anyone remember Young Merlin?
Young Merlin? Nope, I don't. If I'm being entirely honest, nope.
Pete McGee is saying Valle is a big upgrade on Greg Taylor, in my opinion. But we need both. Yes. Exactly, we do need Taylor. I'm not casting him aside. We need Taylor when we're playing a certain way. We need Valle when we're playing a certain way. Particularly, the reason I want to get Valle to get a few games is really simple. We have a cup final coming up on the wide open spaces at Hampden. So I think if we're going to absolutely rip that mob apart, having the invert in the middle, okay, is a good luxury to have. But I'd rather, if you have Maeda and Valle out on the left terrorising Tavernier, and then on the right, you've got Kun and AJ tormenting whoever's defending on that side, there's no respite at all for them. So that's why I'm wanting Valle to play a bit more just to get a run of games before it happens. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I would, yeah, I'd go along with that. I think definitely.
And last positional question, Liam.
Hmm.
This one's particularly for you. My run sheet actually says throw to Liam if there was
Okay.
more.
Oh, right. Okay. To me.
Diogo or Ida at striker? Who starts for us going forward? Both have shown some good form recently.
All right. Hmm.
Because I know
It's
what us.
still it's still Kyogo for me, but
Yeah.
again, it's one of them. If you have to bring Ida in, I'm not worried about it because I know he'll do a good job.
Before the weekend's game, I would 100% be saying exactly what you're saying there, Liam. The way we're set up, the way we're structured,
Hmm.
it's Kyogo playing through there. And Ida has been offered. He hasn't been the same player that he was second half of last season. But what we forget is when he first came in, it took him a little bit to get up to speed. And then that last month, 6 weeks of the season, he was just on fire. Ida was last year.
Hmm.
He's been at the club long enough now that he's starting to hit that same form patch. And I'm loving seeing it. And I love the variety it brings to our play. But yeah, it's still Kyogo's spot, still Kyogo's jersey. So yeah,
It is interesting to think though that we rightly in pre-season we were complaining about the lack of investment, and yet there you have almost 20 million in assets in Ida and Engels, and neither of them are guaranteed a start at the moment. It's interesting.
it makes you think if you could go and buy the whole starting lineup at Rangers for a box of Tic Tacs and some fluff from the bottom of your pocket, and
Hmm.
then you've got us sitting there with £20 million worth of players sitting on the bench. I think that says it all.
I think the word is levels. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
We're on another level, 100%.
Aye.
Pete McGee's saying against the Huns in the cup final, it has to be Kerr because he scares the shit out of them. Yep.
True. Yeah, yeah. Aye.
But I would be looking at going Kyogo up front, but then playing with Valle and AJ just to get it super wide and stop them compacting their midfield. Their midfield will have to come out to, otherwise you're going to have a double up over time with AJ and Kun going at, as I said, at one player, or Valle and Maida going at Tavernier. You have to do it that way. It's going to tear them to shreds.
The thing is, for them, it's a no-win situation because if they open up and have a go at us, we'll rip them to bits. If they sit in and try to defend, we will break them down eventually because they don't have the quality to shut us out for 90 minutes. It's a no-win. The only way they win is if they get a lucky, an own goal or a penalty or something, which could happen. But um, you know, on form, on ability, on squad depth, on every single measurable fair metric, we outgun them completely at the moment. It's not even close.
Liam, the only way they win has got nothing to do with any of that. The only way that they win, it's really, really simple.
Hmm?
It's if we feel like making that our Christmas charity this season or not. And clip me, bitches.
Yeah.
So gone yourself against the other mob. Maida Hatate Kyogo must start. Pete McGee, none of that Mankey Mob squad would get anywhere near ours unless you ask that idiot on the radio who said that they'd be 6-5 in their favour.
Uh, I was talking about the radio. I heard something the other day I've got to share with you. Slight tangent here, right? But um, the ultimate in like embarrassing Rangers supporters. Now I can't remember where I heard this, so I'll need you'll probably find it online somewhere. A guy phones into one of these phone-ins, and he was talking about how Rangers need to rebuild. So it could have been any time in the last 5 years. I don't know when, but it was at some point. This guy phoned up and said, "They need to rebuild," and he says, we need to instill that good Scottish Protestant work ethic, right?" And of course, the presenters like, well, what's religion got to do with it? You went, oh, it's part of what Rangers are all about. We're a fine British institution. All this pish. And then the summariser says, "Can I ask you a question?" He says, "Are you Presbyterian, Church of Scotland, Methodist. What? What church do you go to? Obviously, I assume you're a very strong, you're a Protestant, very strong in your faith. Which church do you go to? And he's like, oh, come on, mate. I support the Rangers. I'm not a fundamentalist. So that's the level of intellect we're up against. So I'm not particularly worried.
Pete McGee, have the Huns released a Christmas ad yet? I'd fancy a right good laugh. Henrik McGlass, that's stretching the Celtic Foundation's remit for charity, talking about what I was saying before.
There are limits to charity.
Pork Chop Express, who's Kevin Judge? So he's a mate of mine who was involved at the Singapore Team CSC. He's got family. His kids were part of setting up the North Kildare CSC in Ireland. Yeah, he just passed away over the weekend or late last week. Not ideal, great bloke. So, yeah, he's going to be missed. So, just passing on our condolences to the family. So, Liam, do you want to have some hot takes? Or are you going to just have a week off?
Oh, no, let's do the hot takes. I'm up for this.
All right. So, we're going to do a Celtic-related one, a Scottish football-related one, and a general one. So, and then we'll just get in, preview the Aberdeen game and call it a podcast. So,
okay.
Celtic-related one, Liam.
Right. Celtic-related one. I'm going to say that of our 3 Japanese players at the moment, the one that we must keep a hold of, most important than any, is Maeda. Kyogo and Hatate are probably more naturally gifted players, but Maeda is the most crucial to our squad at the moment.
Nothing hot about that. That's 100% obvious.
Well, I just...
I agree with you 100%, mate. My Celtic-related one. Brendan Rodgers deserves a contract extension. And considering I was against him coming back a year and a half ago, has to happen. He's halfway through his contract.
Yep.
Scottish football one, Liam.
Right, Scottish football one. More of a world football one, actually. I believe that football should... There's been a lot of complaints recently in the media from players saying there's too many matches, risk of injury is increased, risk of fatigue is increased. And, just the other day I read that there was a Fiorentina player who was in intensive care after he collapsed on the pitch. And that has happened several times in recent years, and it's mostly down to overtraining. So I think that football should adopt a sort of a ice hockey style system of, you've got your squad of 20 or 25 match day players, and you can rotate them in and out as and when you need to throughout the game.
That'd be interesting to see. I was so against all of that sort of stuff, Liam. And then we went from 3 subs to 5 in the pandemic era, and then we're suddenly back, and it stayed, and I actually like it now. So that would be an interesting one. I actually like the rugby. On the back of that, though, I actually like the rugby union one, where you can have your big squad, but once you subbed off, it's the same thing, but you can use your whole bench. There's no real cap on how many subs you can make.
Yeah. The thing is as well, it also completely nullifies the idea of players being unhappy because they're not getting a game. Because everybody could maybe get, about an hour's worth of football if you kept rotating everybody out at the appropriate times. So,
yeah, interesting idea. My Scottish football related one. I was listening to an old Axon podcast that was re-released not long ago, and it was just having a mental blank now. Who's the Celtic fan who was the old CEO of the SPFL? Roger Mitchell?
Aye, Roger Mitchell, yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to that, and some of the stuff he was talking about restructuring and leaving, not just Celtic leaving, but finding a way to promotion, relegation, and to grow the revenue in the Scottish football scene. Even though he was working on all this back 20 years ago, it is still relevant today. And for me, a guy like that, if you could somehow get him in, so this is what I'm going to bet. If you could somehow get him involved back in Scottish football again, you can never have too many people with good ideas. So I'd love to see him come back in and get rid of some of the old feral blazers that are still, sitting at the boards and all that sort of crap.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Actually, the one thing that the Scottish football hierarchy is crying out for right now is just some sort of radical change. It just all the old wood just needs to be ripped out. It's just people have been there for too long, they're too comfortable, and they're too afraid of change.
Yep. Root and stem, rip out the old hacks and get it over and done with.
Aye.
Anything related one, Liam?
Right, let me think. Do you want to go first for this one? Because I've got a couple that I'm kind of swinging back and forth between.
Okay. Anything related is the question of coming up to Christmas. It's now less than a month away. And people rocking all this Grinch stuff everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And people saying, I don't like Christmas, so I'm a fan of the Grinch and I'm going to wear Grinch clothing. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You all do realize that the Grinch actually loved Christmas, and that's why he became that way. So what you think you're saying and doing by wearing Grinch stuff, you're an absolute idiot.
Okay, well, along similar lines then, my hot take, which might, I'm not sure if anyone's going to be upset with this or anybody's even going to care. A lot of people, I like my films, as you know, and a lot of people say that the Dark Knight is the best sort of comic book stroke superhero film ever made. I think it's a whole load of miserable, depressing, overrated shite. And it is what is responsible for the last 15 years of everything needs to be dark and edgy, and I'm fucking sick of it.
Fair enough. RL77, the Grinch Premier League. Where's that bloke, with the super waxed eyebrows? What's his name again? The cinch bloke.
Rylan.
Rylan. Get him with green paint on him. Get him. There you go. Yeah, so we'll just move along to here we go. Henrik McLaughlin. My hot take is freeze your Tunnings tea cakes. They're super chewy afterwards.
Good shout, actually. I've done that before. They are nice.
I used to do that with the caramello koalas. The real big ones you get fundraisers, and they're chocolate with full of caramel. Chuck them in the freezer till it gets gooey, and then just snap them, and it's best. Anywho, if you couldn't tell. But yeah, so we've got a game against Aberdeen on Wednesday night. So it's Thursday, 7 a.m. for me here, East Coast of Australia. What's that, 5 a.m. for you?
Aye.
Up at Petodry. So we're a chance to go 7 points clear with a game in hand if we win the game. So what's your general thoughts heading into the game, Liam?
Confident, but we need to be careful. Aberdeen have hit a bit of a slump recently, but they are a good team. And I still believe they will challenge for second place in the league. So we need to be careful. I think we'll probably win 2-0, but I think it's going to be, a rough game. There might be some hard challenges flying in. Need to protect our players in terms of injuries and whatnot, but I think we'll get through it.
RL77. Sheep will be shagged.
That comes after the game, mate. Get the business done first, then the pleasure, okay? That's how it goes.
So for me, heading into the game, I think it's the form they've been in, the form we've been in, where we're at potentially where up until they got absolutely flogged by us, they were flying, they had so much belief, and now they're at the point where they've, dropped some points here, there, and everywhere. I'm looking at it going, these guys, it's the sort of game where you can walk into and They're just going to be like sitting there ready to ambush you. And I'm not necessarily talking about on the scoreboard. They are a big physical team, and they're probably going to have their crowd middle of the week. So you'd hope it'd be a pretty full house, and you're going to come in there, and they're going to just get in there and try and kick lumps out of us, intimidate us, and if they can't win the game, win the fight's the old saying. So that's what I'm kind of expecting from them. Key areas of focus in the game, I think it's going to come down to defensively, we're fine. It's how well we can control the middle of the park, and then how incisive we are getting the ball forward, whether it's to our wingers or our strikers, to get the shots away.
Yeah. Aye.
So, Liam,
Aye.
will
Yep.
we expect to see the informed players like Luke McCowan, Liam Scales, and Adam Eder start this game? Or do you think we'll be back to our Champions League match squad from last midweek? And what's your expected starting lineup?
I actually would not be surprised if we went with the same lineup we did at the weekend, because you want to get those players game time, and as we agreed, they're all absolutely fine for this level. I would go with I'd go with the same team. I don't know if Brendan will. I think he likes to mix it up a wee bit, but I would go. I'd definitely start Ida instead of Kyogo. I think it's definitely more Ida's type of game. But yeah, I'd be quite happy with the same lineup.
It's funny. There's only 2 changes I would make to the weekend squad. Jamesy out, Kun in.
Yeah.
And then because of how small and narrow their field is, I'm going to want to overload the midfield and press hard, which means I'm going to want Taylor starting at left back in so he can overload and invert instead of Valle, even though I was saying Valle is the better player earlier in the pod. That's what I do. I'll just be changing those 2 positions. Everyone else the same.
Aye, it's like you say, it's one of those types of pitches where Taylor would perhaps be the better option. So yeah, I can definitely see why you're going that way.
And you said your score prediction's 2-0, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I'll bring up some from the comments. So Henrik McLaughlin saying 4-1 Celtic. Pork Chop Express is saying 3-1 Celtic. What do we got here? Gone Yourself is saying 2-1 Celtic halftime, 4-2 Celtic full-time. And for me, there you go. Pork Chop Express is saying strongest team Wednesday, then rest several for the next game. Yeah, if you're going to rest players, you've got a few that you can rest against Hibs on the weekend.
Aye.
Henrik McLaughlin saying Kyogo, Bernardo, Kun, Maeda as scorers.
Okay.
McLaughlin saying 4-0, another statement win. Me, I'll go with the majority of his and say 4-0 then. I'll agree with you. I was going to say 3-0, but 4-0 it is. There you go. Kun with a double.
I'll be delighted to be proven wrong on that one. Yep.
I'll go Kun with a double, Maeda with 1, and Eder off the bench to score 1.
I'll go Ida and Bernardo, and I'll stick with my 2-0.
Cool. Happy days. So I think with that, all we've got to say is thanks everyone for tuning in to this episode of the Pot Noodle on Celtic Down Under. We really appreciate your support. If you haven't already done so and you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit subscribe. So it costs you nothing. You'll be notified when the podcasts come out, and you can get involved in the live chat every week whenever we have a podcast, the 2 or 3 live shows. If you're listening to the audio podcast, like the podcast so it helps us in the algorithm and everything on there, and subscribe to the channel. And all our social media channels, so Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever, all on the screen here. Give them a follow. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.